Lost in the ice storm, the wind screamed across the frozen land. It was sharp like a blade and cold enough to burn. Leo could barely see more than a few steps ahead. His hands were numb, even inside his gloves. His boots sank into the thick snow. With every step, but he had to keep moving. If he stopped, he would freeze to death. Leo was a human engineer, sent with a small team to repair a crashed satellite on this remote ice planet. Everything was going fine until the sudden storm came. Now he was alone. The others had run toward the mountains, but Leo slipped and rolled down a slope. When he got up, they were gone. The radio in his jacket was dead. He had no way to call for help. He pulled his scarf tighter and checked the small bag on his back. It had only one emergency sleeping bag, a few protein bars, and a heating patch. It wouldn't last long. The cold cut through his clothes, through his skin, deep into his bones. He needed shelter, and fast. Then he heard something strange. It wasn't the wind. It was a sound like crying, soft, weak, and not human. Leo turned toward it, unsure if he imagined it. He took a few careful steps through the snow, holding his breath. Behind a half-frozen rock, he saw an alien girl, lying curled in the snow. Her skin was light purple, with silver markings on her face. Her eyes were closed, and her body was shaking. She wore torn armor that did not protect her from the cold. One of her legs was injured. Her breath came out in short gasps, like she was trying to hold on. Leo froze. This was not just any alien. She was from the Varelian species. Long ago, humans and Varelians were at war. Peace existed now, but it was thin, full of distrust. Some still hated each other. Leo looked around. There was no one else. She was alone, just like him. He stepped closer, unsure if she would attack. But she didn't move. Her lips were blue. She looked more dead than alive. Leo knelt beside her. "Hey," he said softly. "Can you hear me?" She opened her eyes for a second, bright silver, glowing even in the storm, but said nothing. Then her head dropped back. She was too weak. Leo's heart pounded. He didn't want to die out here, but leaving her would feel wrong. She was still alive, barely dead. He opened his bag and pulled out the emergency sleeping bag. It was only meant for one person. But maybe, just maybe, they could both fit. "All right," he muttered to himself. "We do this together or not at all." He placed the sleeping bag on the snow and carefully lifted her light body into it. She didn't resist. She was like a doll, cold, soft, and fragile. Then he climbed in after her, wrapping the bag tight to trap whatever heat he could there. Bodies pressed together, awkward and strange. Her skin felt cold, but smooth. Leo could feel her chest rise and fall weakly. He held her close, sharing his warmth. The storm howled around them, but inside the sleeping bag, it was quiet. Minutes passed, then an hour. Leo didn't sleep. He kept listening to her breath, afraid it would stop. Suddenly, her body twitched. Then again, Leo tensed. Was she waking up? Was she in pain? The alien girl whispered something in her own language. Leo couldn't understand, but her voice was soft and sad, like a memory or a goodbye. He looked at her face. Even in the cold, she looked young, maybe close to his age, maybe younger. She looked like someone who had seen war and lost. Leo didn't know what to say, so he said nothing. Then something unexpected happened. She moved closer to him. Her arms wrapped around his waist, gently but with purpose. She pulled herself tighter against him, as if she finally trusted him or needed him to live. A soft glow spread from her chest to her arms, warm and golden. Leo gasped, not in fear, but in wonder. The glow didn't burn. It felt comforting, like her body was responding to the warmth. Like something inside her was waking up. He didn't understand what was happening, but he knew one thing. The moment he offered her that sleeping bag, everything changed. Now, their survival was not just about heat. It was about trust, and that trust might lead to something far more dangerous than the storm outside. The sleeping bag decision. Leo didn't sleep. Even as the storm outside began to slow, his thoughts were louder than the wind. The alien girl in his arms had stopped shivering, but her breathing was still shallow. Her soft glow pulsed like a heartbeat, strange yet beautiful. He had only known her for a few hours, but something about her silence and closeness made his own loneliness feel heavier. This was not how missions were supposed to go. Humans were trained to stay alert around unknown species, especially ones from old war lines. But this was different. He wasn't dealing with a soldier or a spy. She was just a girl, hurt, half frozen, and now trusting him with her life. Leo slowly unzipped the sleeping bag just a little to let in a bit of fresh air. Her eyes opened. This time, she didn't flinch. She stared at him, confused but calm. "I'm Leo," he said softly. She blinked. He pointed to himself. "Leo," then pointed at her with a questioning look. She hesitated, then whispered something that sounded like Corinne. He repeated it slowly. "Karin." She nodded. Her voice was soft, but sharper now. "Not enemy." Leo shook his head. "No enemy. Just cold." Karin's eyes softened. Her hand moved slightly across her body and rested near his chest, just above his heart. She didn't seem scared anymore. Instead, she looked curious, like she was trying to understand what kind of human would help someone like her. For a moment, they lay quietly in the sleeping bag, surrounded by snow, silence, and secrets. Then she did something that Leo didn't expect. She closed her eyes and placed her forehead gently against his. It wasn't romantic. It wasn't fearful. It felt ancient, like a gesture that meant something important in her culture. Something sacred. Leo stayed still. Her touch was light, but full of emotion. Warmth spread from her forehead to his, and for a second, he felt something deep in his chest. Not pain, not fear. Connection. Karin whispered again in her language. Her voice was shaking, but she kept repeating the same short phrase. Leo didn't understand the words, but he could feel their meaning. Her body trembled, not from cold, but from something stronger. Then her fingers moved across the sleeping bag's inner lining. She touched a small spot on the fabric and pressed hard. A sudden heat surged through the bag, like her skin activated. "Something," Leo gasped. The sleeping bag's warmth intensified, but it wasn't just normal heat. It was targeted, almost intelligent. His skin tingled. His heart raced. "Karin, what did you do?" he asked, nervous. She looked up, her face glowing again. "My kind. Bond by warmth," she said slowly, her accent thick. "Life shared is life joined." Leo stared. "Bond." She nodded. He tried to speak, but couldn't find the right words. He had only tried to save her life. He didn't know it would trigger some ancient alien ritual. "Wait," he said. "Does this mean we're connected now?" Karin tilted her head. "You offer warmth. I accept. Our paths now walk as one." Leo blinked. This was not in any mission guide. He looked at her again. Her eyes held no threat, only a quiet strength, as if this bond, this joining, was serious to her people. She didn't take it lightly. And now, neither could he. The sleeping bag's warmth settled, and they lay quietly once more. Karin seemed at peace now, breathing easier, no longer glowing too brightly. Her body had relaxed. She no longer feared him, but Leo's thoughts were far from quiet. He had entered this storm thinking only about survival. But now, survival had a new meaning. He wasn't alone anymore. And whatever this bond meant, it had begun with a simple decision, to share his warmth. But something deep inside told him this wasn't over. Far from it. Karin's people might come looking for her. His team might come looking for him. And when they found them, lying side by side in one sleeping bag, what would they think? Worse, what would they do? Leo wasn't sure, but one thing was now clear. This was no longer a rescue mission. This was the start of something much bigger than both of them. Asterisk, a strange reaction. Leo woke up to silence. The wind had stopped. For the first time in hours, the snow no longer roared outside. But something else had changed, something much closer. He felt it before he even opened his eyes. Heat. Not normal heat, but something stronger, warmer, alive. He opened his eyes and looked down. Karin wasn't just sleeping. Her body was glowing again, but now the light was spreading, moving slowly through her skin like liquid gold. It wasn't just around her heart this time. It ran through her neck, her arms, even her fingers. She looked like she had fire under her skin. Her breathing had changed too. Deep, steady, powerful. Leo stared in silence. She had looked weak and near death before. Now, she looked different, stronger. Her wounds were almost gone. Her color was deeper, and her eyes, when they opened, shone like polished metal. She looked straight at him and whispered, "It begins." Leo's heartbeat jumped. "What begins?" he asked, barely able to speak. Karin sat up slowly inside the sleeping bag. She placed her hand over her chest, right where her glow was strongest. Our joining, she said. It has started. You are changing. Leo shook his head. No, I'm just human. I can't change like that. But even as he said it, he felt it. His skin tingled where her fingers had touched him the night before. His hands were warmer than normal. His heart felt like it was beating in rhythm with hers. It was impossible, but it was real. Karin's voice became softer. Your kindness woke something. A bond like this has not happened in hundreds of years. Not between my kind and yours. Leo tried to stay calm, but nothing made sense. You mean I'm becoming one of you? He asked. Karin smiled a little, but it was sad. Not exactly. Your body stays human, but your life is now connected to mine. Pain, fear, warmth, even thoughts. You gave me your warmth. Now I give you something back. Leo rubbed his hands together. They felt hot, like they were holding fire just under the skin. Why me? He asked. I was just trying to help. Karin looked away for a moment. That is why. Others give help for reward. You gave without reason. You gave without knowing what it would cost. That makes the bond real. Leo's thoughts spun. Like a storm. He had only wanted to survive the cold night. He had only wanted to keep her alive. But now something far deeper had begun. He felt something shift inside him. Like her heartbeat had synced with his. He stared into the distance. What happens now? Karin didn't answer right away. Her eyes turned serious. Now they come. Leo's breath caught. They? She nodded. My people. They felt the signal when I changed. They know I'm alive. They will come. Leo should have felt relief. Rescuers. Help. But Karin's face was not hopeful. They will not be happy, she said. They will see the bond as a mistake. A weakness. They may try to break it. Leo frowned. Break it? How? Karin looked down. By breaking us. For a long time, they sat in silence. Leo finally spoke, his voice low but steady. Then we run. Karin's eyes widened. You would run with me? He nodded. I didn't share my sleeping bag with you just to watch you get hurt. Something in her face changed. A spark. A look of someone who had lost everything and just found something worth holding on to. But suddenly, a loud beep echoed in the air. A sharp, repeating sound coming from above. Leo looked up. A small black drone hovered high in the sky, watching, recording, and sending a message. Karin's face turned pale. It's too late, she said. Leo grabbed his bag, his hands trembling. Then we better move now. The sleeping bag lay open behind them, still warm, still glowing faintly, like a witness to something ancient, something sacred, something the universe hadn't seen in a very long time. Asterisk hidden truths in the morning. Snow. The morning light touched the frozen land, but Leo didn't feel calm. The storm was over. The sky was clear. Snowflakes sparkled like glass across the ground. It should have looked peaceful, safe, but it didn't. Karin stood beside him, her eyes scanning the sky. Her skin still glowed faintly under her armor, and her silver markings pulsed softly. She looked stronger now, alive in a way she wasn't before. But her face carried tension, like something was about to break. Leo felt it too. The silence was too clean, too sharp, like the world was holding its breath. He broke the quiet. What happens if they find us? Karin didn't answer at first. Then she whispered, they won't understand. They don't believe in the old bonds anymore. They will see it as a threat. Leo frowned. But how is helping someone a threat? Karin looked at him, her eyes deep with something more than fear, something like shame. My people. We once believed in warmth, in bonds, in unity. Long ago, our ancestors shared the cold with strangers. But war changed us. Now, the heart is a weakness. Bonds are forbidden outside the bloodline. To share warmth with an outsider, she paused. It is punishable. Leo felt a chill, not from the wind, but from her words. You mean they'd punish you for surviving? Karin nodded. And you, for saving me. He shook his head in disbelief. Then they're not rescuers. They're a threat. Her silence was the answer. They kept walking through the snow, following the ridge toward the mountains. It wasn't safe to stay near the open valley, not after the drone spotted them. Leo's legs were tired, but his mind moved faster than ever. What really happened last night? He finally asked. You said we're bonded. But how deep does that go? Karin slowed her steps, her hands folded in front of her, and she spoke with care. In my culture, when one offers warmth without demand and the other accepts with trust, A soul connection forms. It is not just emotion. It is physical, mental, even spiritual. Our bodies learn from each other. Adapt. Share. Leo blinked. Wait. You mean? Yes, she said. Some of your body is already changing. Small things. Faster healing. Increased resistance to cold. It will grow over time. He stared at his hands. They didn't look different. But now that she said it, he hadn't felt cold since sunrise. Not even once. Karin continued. For me, your warmth triggered my recovery. But for you, it unlocked my legacy. Legacy? He asked. She looked up toward the sun. You carry something now. A signal. A pattern. My people will sense it. Leo's mouth went dry. Then it's like a tracker? In a way. But deeper. They will not just see where you are. They will feel what we share. Leo stopped walking. So they'll know everything? Karin looked down. Yes. That is why we must go further. Away from them. Away from yours, too. Leo stared at her. Why mine? Because once your people know what happened, she said, they may fear it too. The truth hit hard. He hadn't thought of that. His own team, his commanders, the entire human alliance. They didn't understand alien rituals. They didn't accept deep biological bonds with outsiders. They might study him, use him, or worse, cut him off. Then we're both running. Leo said, from everyone. Karin nodded slowly. But we're not alone, he added. This time, her eyes softened. For the first time since morning, she smiled, just a little. No, she said. We are not alone. Just then, a sharp sound cracked through the air. Leo spun around. A flash in the distance. Metal wings. A ship, flying low, fast. Karin's face went pale. It's them. Leo grabbed her hand. Then let's move. They ran together, their footprints deep in the snow behind them. But the warmth between their hands didn't fade. It only grew stronger. And though the world chased them, Leo knew one thing for certain now. Last night wasn't just a moment. It was a choice, a bond, a beginning. Hunted by her own, the cold no longer bothered Leo. Not because the weather had changed, but because something inside him had. His body moved faster now, steadier. His heart beat in rhythm with Karin's footsteps beside him. Their bond was no longer silent. He could feel her emotions like echoes inside his chest. Fear, strength, and something new. A fierce loyalty. But that feeling was quickly tested. The alien ship chased them through the sky. It wasn't large, but it was fast and sharp, built for hunting. Karin knew the sound too well. It belonged to a seeker, a scout ship made to find and capture. Those who disobeyed the Varelian code, they will not kill me, she said as they ducked behind frozen rocks. Not yet. But you, they see you as the threat. Leo breathed hard. Why me? I'm not the one glowing and breaking rules. Karin's voice was steady. Because I am one of them. You are not. To them, this bond is infection. And they fear what they do not control. The ship circled above, scanning the snow-covered cliffs. Its searchlights passed just meters from where they hid. Karin closed her eyes and touched her fingers to her temple. Her glow dimmed slightly. Leo watched her in awe. What are you doing? Masking us, she whispered. Just for a little while. He nodded but didn't speak. The fear in his throat was thick. But deeper than fear, something else was growing, a fire. He wasn't going to let her face this alone. After a few minutes, the ship flew past, too fast to check the ground carefully. They had a small window. Karin stood, swaying slightly. Masking had cost her energy. Her breathing was slow, her skin pale again. Leo reached out. Rest. I'll watch. She shook her head. No time. They send ground scouts after air search fails. We must go higher. They began climbing the ice ridge. Every step was harder now, not because of the weather, but because the air carried danger. It felt heavy with coming war. As they moved, Leo noticed a change in Karin's steps. She wasn't running to escape anymore. She was walking toward something. Where are we going? He asked. To an old place, she said. Where Varelians once trusted outsiders. Long before the wars. Leo followed her without question. But halfway up the path, the sound of boots on snow made them freeze. Karin grabbed Leo's arm and pulled him behind a rock. Below them, 3 Varelian scouts moved through the snow, tall, armored, and silent. Each held a weapon that shimmered with blue light. Their eyes glowed under their helmets, scanning for energy signals. Leo leaned close and whispered, Can we take them? Karin didn't answer. Instead, she stood up. Leo's eyes widened. What are you doing? She raised her hands slowly. They are my people. Let me try. Leo wanted to stop her, but something in her face held him back. The scouts raised their weapons. But when Karin spoke, they hesitated. I am firstborn of the House of Vol, she said, her voice sharp and powerful. I claim right of warmth. The lead scout stepped forward. That right is dead. Karin's eyes glowed bright. Then let it live through me. I have bonded. I have chosen. They looked confused, angry, unsure. Leo stepped beside her now, silent but firm. The scout stared at him. You human. What did you do to her? Karin answered. He saved me. Another scout growled. He changed you. No, she said. He reminded me who I was before war stole our hearts. The silence was cold. Long then the lead scout lowered his weapon. Take her, he said. Karin gasped. What? But the scout pointed at Leo. Leave the human. Karin stepped between them. No, we are one. The scout's eyes burned. Then you are traitor. A flash of blue light lit the air. Karin pushed Leo to the ground and took the hit. She cried out, falling hard into the snow. Her armor cracked. Leo didn't think that he charged. He didn't care if they were stronger. He didn't care about his own safety. He tackled the nearest scout, slamming his shoulder into the alien's chest. The scout fell. Another raised his weapon, but Leo rolled and grabbed a broken metal shard from the ground. But before he could strike, a blast of golden light erupted. Behind him, Karin stood up, her glow now blinding, her face filled with rage and power. You will not take him, she roared. The scouts backed away in shock. The snow around her began to melt. Her voice shook the mountain. And in that moment, even Leo saw her not as a wounded girl, but as a force no one could break. Asterisk her final choice. The light from Karin's body lit the snow like morning sun. Her glow was no longer soft or hidden. It was fierce, golden, and alive. Even the air around her felt heavier, as if time itself had slowed down to watch what she would do next. The Varelian scouts stood frozen in place. Their weapons trembled. For the first time, they weren't in control. Karin took one step forward. The snow melted beneath her feet. Her voice was calm, but filled with power. You tried to end a bond that was born of life, not war. You struck the one who saved me. And now I choose. Leo slowly got to his feet. His ribs ached, and there was blood on his lip, but he couldn't look away from her. He had seen Karin as a fragile survivor, then a brave companion, but now she was something else. Something greater. A leader. A protector. She turned toward him. In that moment, Leo felt her mind inside his. Not words, feelings. She was scared. Not for herself, but for him. She knew the next choice would change everything. Once spoken, it could not be undone. Karin lifted her hand and pointed to the sky. I reject the old law. I choose the human. Our warmth is real. Our bond is true. I will not return to a cold throne that punishes mercy. The lead scout stepped forward. His voice shook. Then you are no longer Varelian. You are exile. Karin didn't flinch. So be it. The other two scouts hesitated, but followed their commander. They vanished into the snow without another word, leaving behind more than just footprints. They left behind a queen who had chosen a human over her people. Karin's glow faded slowly. Her shoulders slumped. She dropped to her knees, exhausted. Leo rushed to her side and held her as she breathed hard, her strength dimming. Why did you do that? He asked softly. She looked at him with tired eyes. Because no one ever chose me. Not without conditions. Not without fear. But you gave warmth without asking who I was. That made my choice clear. Leo didn't know what to say. His throat was tight. He had never imagined he'd mean this much to someone, especially someone from another world. A small beeping sound came from his coat. His communicator. It had restarted. A voice crackled through it. Leo, do you copy? This is command. We're tracking movement on your signal. Are you alive? He hesitated, then pressed the button. I'm alive. I'm with someone. We need help. There was a pause. Understood. Emergency pod en route. Hold position. Karin heard it too. Leo looked at her. You can come. They'll take us both. But Karin's face darkened. No. Your people may not accept me. They'll have to. She shook her head. They fear the unknown. They study what they cannot control. I cannot become a test subject or a trophy. Leo's heart sank. Then what do we do? Karin reached into her armor and pulled out a small disc. She pressed a button, and a soft hum filled the air. A light opened in the snow, revealing a small portal, dim, unstable, but real. This leads to an old sanctuary, she said. A place forgotten by both humans and Varelians. It's not safe, but it's free. Leo looked at the portal, then at the sky, where the rescue pod would arrive any moment. He had two paths now. Safety, or Karin that he took her hand, and without another word, he stepped into the light beside her. The portal closed behind them. The snow was still, the mountains silent, and the sky above watched quietly as a new story began far beyond its reach. Asterisk beyond enemies, beyond species, the portal closed behind them. With a soft hum, then silence. Leo blinked as the light faded. They stood in a valley unlike anything he had seen before. The ground was soft with glowing moss. Strange blue trees swayed without wind. Above them, two moons lit the sky, casting silver shadows. Everything here felt untouched by war, untouched by hate. Karin stood beside him, silent. This was the sanctuary she had spoken of, forgotten by both humans and Varelians. A place outside borders, beyond control. No armies, no rules, just life. Leo looked around slowly. Where are we? Karin whispered, a world lost in records. My people called it Velmara. Once, long ago, it was a meeting place for many kinds. Until fear closed the gates. He took a deep breath. The air smelled sweet, filled with the scent of flowers. He didn't know. His body felt lighter, warmer. He looked at his hand. It still held Karin's tightly. And somehow, it felt like it belonged there. They walked through the glowing field together. Karin didn't speak much. She was quiet now, watching everything like she was seeing it for the first time. But Leo could feel what she felt, through the bond that had started in the cold. Peace. After hours of walking, they found a small crystal cave with a soft glow. It was quiet, warm, and safe. They rested there, sharing the last protein bar Leo had left in the cave. Under the soft light, Karin finally spoke again. My people taught me to hide weakness, to fear trust. But you offered warmth when I had nothing. Leo looked at her. You don't owe me anything. She smiled faintly. I know. That's why it means more. They sat together in silence. No more running. No more hiding. Then Karin reached into her armor and took out a small silver band. It looked like a bracelet, but it pulsed gently with golden light. She held it out. In my world, this marks a bond that is chosen, not forced, not ordered, given freely. Leo stared at it. I'm not like your people, he said. I'm not strong. I'm not trained. I'm just human. Karin touched his hand. And yet, you warmed me back to life. You made me believe again. Leo took the band and slid it onto his wrist. It fit perfectly. The golden light from the band connected to Karin's glow. Two lights, now pulsing as one. Far away, on their home worlds, they were no longer citizens. No longer soldiers. No longer tools in someone else's war. But here, on Velmara, they were something else. A beginning. Days passed. Then weeks. They built a small home from crystals and roots, gathered glowing fruit, hunted gentle creatures for food. The planet did not fight them. It welcomed them. Leo's body grew stronger. His skin adjusted to the alien world. Karin smiled more. She laughed sometimes, soft and rare, but real. And every night, they lay close, not just for warmth anymore, but for peace. No one came looking for them. Not Varelians, not humans. The world had moved on. But Leo and Karin didn't need the world. They had each other, and sometimes, in the quiet of the glowing nights, Karin would whisper in her native tongue, words Leo didn't fully understand, but could feel deep in his chest. Words of thanks, of healing, of love. Because long ago, in the middle of a storm, a human had offered a sleeping bag, and what he got in return was everything.